How much do you like RPG games? Because I'm definitely not that big of a fan. You know, struggling for a few hours to just level up one of the 32 categories to see minimal changes in the game until you are like level 50 never really caught my attention. To give an example, Skyrim, one of the most well-known RPGs games even in Turkey, attached my attention only with its dragons. The storyline was too mundane, the characters are boring, and the combat system was just enjoyable when I forced myself to play as a silent thief. So what made the combat system enjoyable was that I didn't fight. Of course, you may think that I don't like the game because of the things that I just said. No, I still buried more than 100 hours in the game, and I am someone who directly deletes the games that I don't like. What I mean is that getting someone like me to addict to full RPG games while still not that hard truly takes some skill. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. Fallout New Vegas, the best, albeit from the few, RPG games I ever played, and something you should play too. Well, now that I already said the summary of the video, I can start reviewing it. But first, a small warning. Although I will be careful not to give spoilers, unfortunately I will have to talk about the story a bit. And this story should really be played rather than listened to. So, you have been warned. Let's start with, what is Fallout? Fallout is a video game series about post-apocalyptic nuclear wastelands and people living in it. The scenarios usually take place around 200 years from the bombs fell, around 2270s, or sometimes 50s, While the protagonists are always different, the consistent part is that you're always in the center of a big coming conflict, and you can usually take sides both from the good and the bad. New Vegas is no different. The opening shows you what has happened and will happen.
War never changes. When atomic fire consumed the earth, those who survived did so in great underground vaults. When they opened, their inhabitants set out across the ruins of the old world to build new societies, establishing villages, forming tribes. As decades passed, what had been the American Southwest united beneath the flag of the new California Republic, dedicated to old world values of democracy and the rule of law. As the Republic grew, so did its needs. Scouts spread east, seeking territory and wealth in the dry and merciless expanse of the Mojave Desert. They returned with tales of a city untouched by the warheads that had scorched the rest of the world, and a great wall spanning the Colorado River. The NCR mobilized its army and sent it east to occupy Hoover Dam and restore it to working condition. But across the Colorado, another society had arisen under a different flag. A vast army of slaves forged from the conquest of 86 tribes, Caesar's Legion. 4 years have passed since the Republic held the dam, just barely, against the Legion's onslaught. The Legion did not retreat. Across the river, it gathers strength. Campfires burn, training drums beat. Through it all, the New Vegas Strip has stayed open for business, under the control of its mysterious overseer, Mr. House, and his army of rehabilitated tribals and police robots. You are a courier, hired by the Mojave Express to deliver a package to the New Vegas Strip. What seemed like a simple delivery job has taken a turn for the worse.
You got what you were after, so pay up.
You're crying in the rain, Pally.
Guess who's waking up over here?
Time to cash out.
Will you get it over with?
Maybe cons kill people without looking them in the face. but I ain't a fink. Dig? You've made your last delivery, kid. Sorry you got twisted up in this scene. From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
And right after that slideshow, you are introduced to your objective. That small chip that the guy in the checkered suit holds is why you are in this situation. So anyway, after his talk about gambling terms that are too taboo in my household, he shoots you and you die. Well, not exactly. Thanks to the advanced technology of his radiated hands and probably filthy clothes, this guy, Dot Mitchell, saves your life after a cowboy robot ducks you out of your grave. Now that was a sentence, wasn't it? After this comes the character creation, which is dated. Let's not kid ourselves. And then comes your skills, traits, and this whole town, since all of it's kind of work as a training area with a big fight at the end. And that's the story that I'm willing to tell. I can't be talking about all of it, since how you are supposed to find the guy who shot you is entirely up to you, and how much detour you are willing to make is usually a choice. True, some characters give you jobs in order to lead you, but hey, just look around a bit. That way you may not need to do someone else's jobs for them. Now that the story part is out of the way, let's talk about the characters. New Vegas has a lot of characters. So much so, in fact, I can't talk about all of them. But hey, at least their names are understandable, like Boone or Veronica, instead of Hal Ilgrud Ravenkron or Hal Dengrof Stunsport. All of the characters in the game are killable, so you can easily play as a psychopath and go on to do huge kill streaks. And there are actually achievements for that. Of course, not all the NPCs in the game can be talked to. Most of them are the usual genetic line spammers, but as there is known and loved for. Not everyone can be your friend in the game, no matter how good of a person you are. Sometimes you will have to make hard choices and sacrifice some people. But hey, just in case, try to talk to people, no matter what. You'll never know if they're willing to listen. Well, the game kinda tell you, but shh, that's for something else. And anyway, you also have 8 completely different companions in the game, 2 non-human kinds and 6 humanoids, all with their different quests in order to become stronger one way or the other. Legitimately, you can only have 2 companions at a time, one non-human type and one human type. How do you find them and what they are like, or what fighting styles they have? Well, I'll leave that to you. Now let's change gear to the Windows screen, since by now the game crashed and you are starting to wonder why. Let's talk about mods. Now I didn't say it before, but pretty much you can guess from the graphics, New Vegas is an old game. Not super old, but still. And the games hasn't been updated since 2011. Yeah, let that sink in for a moment. Thankfully, the community is still holding the game together, and thankfully, some people in that community are talented enough to make mods for the game. Now you might be thinking, but I like the vanilla version, why would I need mods? Well, my friends, the answer is bugs. No, not them, these.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No, 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 no. Look at the top of his head.
Now, if we go back to our topic, the community, while still not completely, were able to fix a lot of the game's random crashes and bugs and other issues. There are a bunch of videos on YouTube on how to install mods, what to install, or so forth. I, being an intelligent level close to a leather belt, will not tell you how to download what and put which file where, because I care for you. Search about these and trust me, once you start modding, it's kind of hard to hold yourself back. So don't worry about that 10 minutes you lost trying to find a file. Now with mods out of the way, let's move on through the gameplay. Well, the gameplay of the Fallout New Vegas, or probably all of the Fallout games in this case, is meet someone, ask them if they need anything, hear about what they want to be killed or retrieved, usually both, and move on to the said location they point at. Now, of course, this was a very closed version of the mission types. For example, you can just refuse to kill people or try to talk them out of it, and depending on your skills, you can, in fact, just don't kill anyone. I'm serious, by the way, you're usually faster than the things that are chasing you, and if you are patient enough, you can just play the game with zero killing. The only achievement for it, though, bragging rights to the invasive species, called France. But seriously though, why would you play the game and hold yourself back? Especially since there are let me check quickly. No, okay, so yeah, there are a lot of weapons. And the good thing is, while they all have different categorized skills, you can still use them. With worse handling though, and thanks to the generous experience points, you can casually change your playstyle mid-game. Now, let's start with something admittedly much less important, but hey, I care about it, so I'm gonna talk about it. The music. There isn't much of it. I mean, there are some atmospheric ones when you are in special places like Kaiser's tent, and your Pip-Boy also has some radio stations that you can listen to while traveling. Combined, there are around 1, maybe 2 hours worth of songs. I'm not really sure. But since the game mostly on travels, you'll be hearing songs repeat a lot, which is another reason to have mods. But of course, the songs themselves are really good, and there's a better part of it too. For example, the Radio New Vegas host, Mr. New Vegas, is the best thing in the game, by far. Now finally, let's talk about DLCs in the game, then I can finally rest. There are actually 9 DLCs in the game, but to be honest, only 4 of them are really good ones with their own stories. Now, let's talk about them in chronological order, which is a lot harder than I thought, since when I asked Google about the order of these 4 DLCs, that was the screen in front of me. So let's just throw that idea out of the window, and I'm gonna start from my favorite to my least favorite. Firstly, on the starts. I know from a gameplay point, this DLC is the weakest because most of it's just about fetch questing, but man, do I ever love how bright, hopeful, and just kind of safe Zion looks. The characters in this DLC are also top tier, not just with everyone's favorite crispiest believer, but with characters like Fall of Chalk too. I love how vibrant everything looks, and I also like it's not that big or challengingly hard to travel through. I admit it doesn't give you much from a hoarder point of view, but still, there is just something about Zion that I can write or be content with. I can't just say, oh, I like this part and finish there. This was the first DLC I played, and after my first playthrough, I usually come back here again. Like I said, it's hard to explain. Maybe the place is really as Joshua says, who knows? Second DLC, Old World Blues. This DLC. Man, where to begin with this one? While OnStar's message is almost completely about Joshua Graham, this one is about a group of crazy scientists that are locked away in a mountain to do scientific things. Forever. If you don't understand me, don't worry and just play it for yourself. The environment, while not as pretty as Zion, is full of surprises, disturbing discoveries, and the most random and admittedly funniest things you'll see in the game. By the way, the funny part wasn't from me. That was the point of the DLC, as the game devs even said so, which I think they succeeded. There are a lot of unique and powerful weapons for my hoarder brothers to obtain, But not gonna lie, gameplay-wise, this is almost the same as the honest art, because more than half of the quests are just to find holotapes. I also like the characters here too, but they didn't leave me with a lot of impact and I almost forgot everyone's name. Except Dala, because, well, I'll leave that part to you to discover. You won't forget it either, trust me. And now to the next one in my list, Lonesome Road. Now again, I'm doing this list to whichever one I like because otherwise this DLC feels like the last one, and rightfully so too. It feels like a last corner to look into before finishing the game in order to reflect on your actions. The story of this DLC is about an angry mailman who's fuming about your existence and calls you out to a 1v1. Yep, that's a wrap. I'm happy with the summary. Truth to be told, there is much more to the Ulysses than what I just said, but I'm sure you can find that part yourself. The environment. Apocalypse on top of an apocalypse. But still very interesting and well crafted. The weapons in here are some of the strongest and more importantly pricey ones in the game, so you can easily become rich in here. But also the enemies in the Lonesome Road are some of the hardest, like the Markmen and the goddamn tunnelers. My god, the tunnelers are horrific and annoying as hell. Overall, while I'm not that keen on a man who keeps nagging me about something I don't even remember doing, or arguably even did, this DLC was a really good one too. And now it's time for dead money. God, I hate dead money. I also love some of the aspects and believe them to be top tier. For example, I love the characters in the DLC. I believe some of them to be more truly written than the one in the main game. I also love the story of Sierra Madre, the darkness of it and how scary and depressing the whole place is. I love the message in the DLC too, which I believe to be truly sended. But goddamn do I hate to play this DLC. It's a goddamn chore traveling this place, dodging the ghost people, traps and on top of the traps with the deadly clouds surrounding everyone while you are in a constant panic mode because you don't know where that beeping sound comes from. Well, that was all. No, I also hate the guns in here. You get a police pistol and a machine gun. The rest is ineffective unarmed melee weapons. So if you are a player like me, focused on guns, you will struggle a lot. Well, that was that. That's the most I can review without giving major spoilers. If you watch this till this point, please, I urge you to play the game yourself. I honestly have no idea if there is a Turkish language mode or something like that, but I hope there is if you really need to understand the story. The game and its world building captured me so much I actually wrote a long story based on it. Sadly it's only in Turkish, so I'm just going to the outro. Do the things the other YouTubers tell you to do without the credit card part. Have a nice day or night, and I hope your favorite food is gonna be available tomorrow. Bye.